Heartwarming act, young girl's incredible gesture transforms life after discovering hidden wealth. In the small town of Maplewood, where every face was familiar and every heartbeat echoed comfort, 10-year-old Lily had become something of a folk hero overnight. After discovering vintage coins tucked away in her late grandmother's dusty attic, the girl was filled with a sense of profound possibility, treasures glimmering with dreams that seemed to burst from the worn box like fireworks on the 4th of July. Her simple act of kindness had ignited hope in a place that had long been dimmed by struggles and hardships. Lily's life wasn't always easy. She shared chores and quiet dreams with her single mother, a waitress hustling from dawn till dusk at the local diner, where the coffee was always fresh, and laughter was often served alongside. Despite the bills piling up, the weight of their daily grind was softened by a bond that shimmered like the coins in her hand, full of generosity and steadfast love. Lily busied herself with chores, but her heart soared at the idea that all the coins could bring change, not just for her, but for everyone. As word spread about Lily's discovery, the townsfolk began to look at her with renewed interest. Yet, the reality of Maplewood's struggles became clearer. Neighbors whispered of evictions, their worries clawing at Lily's heart. Her favorite teacher, Mr. Simmons, who had dedicated his life to education, sacrificed so much as the bills quietly seeped into the fabric of his spirited classroom. With each mention of struggle, her conviction deepened to help, to uplift, and to make the weight of those burdens a little lighter. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But the goodwill blossoming from her gesture began to twist like a vine as the town's sweeping gaze turned suspicious. Conversations ignited discussions about who truly deserved help. Neighbors who once laughed together now exchanged wary glances, asking if Lily's family were really deserving of their kindness. Each smile felt edged with doubt, each congratulation faltered as hostility simmered just below the surface. Was there an invisible line between classes? As Lily faced the swirling emotions of a community divided, anticipation for the charity event grew palpable. It would shine a light on her brave acts. Invitations were sent, but the air was thick with tension. Would her compassion unite the town, or rip them apart? Clutching the coins in her pocket, she felt their weight, more than just metal. It was her heart's desire to prove their shared humanity. As Lily stood on that stage, before the sea of familiar faces, an unexpected twist was brewing. A familiar face emerged from the crowd, ready to shatter the fragile peace. A voice called out, accusations flying like paper in a storm, and Lily stood frozen. Would this act of kindness lead to healing, or unleash chaos? The answers danced just out of reach, the final question looming almost as heavily as the coins in her pocket. Lily felt her heart race as she stood under the spotlight. The crowd, once warm and supportive, now shifted into something unpredictable. From the back, Mrs. Thompson, a longtime neighbor, stepped forward. Her voice cut through the silence, sharp and unwavering. What makes you think you can just give away money like it's candy, Lily? Who decides who gets helped? The words hung in the air, thick with judgment. Lily's stomach twisted. Mrs. Thompson had always been a kind soul, but something had changed. Maybe it was the need that tightened around so many hearts in Maplewood. There was murmuring among the crowd, eyebrows raised, faces hardening. Lily opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. She felt the weight of the coins burn in her pocket, an unexpected burden now. Each one represented hope, but they also fired the flame of resentment in others. How could something meant to bring joy become a source of division? As tension wove itself into the fabric of the moment, she glanced at her mother sitting in the front row, her eyes filled with worry. This was supposed to be a celebration of love, but all Lily saw were unsettled faces, a community grappling with fear and suspicion. Mrs. Thompson, Lily finally managed to say, her voice small yet defiant. I just wanted to help. My grandmother always said kindness costs nothing but means everything. I thought if I could share some of this treasure, maybe it would lift everyone's spirits. A ripple of murmurs broke out. Some nodded, while others turned their heads away, their skepticism evident. But Lily pressed on. We all struggle sometimes. If we can help each other, maybe we can find a way through this together. The coins may shine, but it's the hearts behind them that bring true light. She felt a flicker of courage spark within her, like a match catching flame against the gathering darkness surrounding her. A few neighbors exchanged soft glances, as if they were beginning to stir from their own doubts, but then, another voice interrupted from the back. It was Mr. Simmons, her teacher, with worry etched on his brow. Lily, are we really prepared to judge each other's worthiness? It's the act of giving that defines us, not our status. He stepped closer, his fingers clenched with fervor, encouraging the crowd to listen. This is about community, about lifting each other's burdens. Lily felt her heart swell with hope as the murmurs turned into whispers of agreement from some in the crowd. She caught the eyes of a few friends who stood by, nodding in support. Perhaps they could find a way through the chaos, a chance to bridge the rift. Just then, Mrs. Thompson stepped back, her expression softening for a heartbeat. I'm just scared, Lily. We've all been struggling. It was never about you, it's about the ones who may take without giving back. For a moment, the air felt more hopeful. But a voice rose from the other side, harsh and biting. And what about those of us who truly need it? Why does a little girl get to decide who deserves charity? The flood of questions grew chaotic, drowning Lily's resolve. Good people broken by their struggles. They were more than just faces, they were a community hanging in the balance. Lily looked into the eyes of her neighbors, hoping they would see through the fog of anger. Would this moment unite them or push them further apart? She took a deep breath, feeling the drop of uncertainty in her chest. That as the crowd swelled with clashing opinions, Lily realized she had a choice to make. Would she stand and fight for what she believed in, or would she retreat and let fear reign? The sound of coins clinking in her pocket steadied her resolve. Either way, her heart raced with the thrill of possibility. She stepped forward. Let's talk about it. But before she could finish, chaos erupted. Who could she trust in a moment like this? And what would be left if the storm didn't settle? Lily's heart drummed loudly in her ears, drowning out the shouts and accusations swirling around her. She stood still, her eyes darting around the crowd, searching for a lifeline amidst the chaos. It felt like a storm, wild and out of control, threatening to tear apart everything she had hoped to build, everything that brought her community together. Her determination flickered, shadows creeping in from the corners of her mind. All those feelings of joy and sharing burned in her chest, yet they were tempered by the harsh reality of discontent that surrounded her. Lily could feel the sadness, the countless burdens her neighbors carried. She wished she could ease their pain, but today it seemed as if that kindness came with chains of doubt. Can we just slow down? She finally shouted, her voice cutting through the noise with a desperate plea. The crowd quieted, some faces still clenched in frustration, but they shifted their gazes to her. I just wanted to share a little happiness. We all need it, especially now. A quick glance at her mother revealed the worry etched on her face, but also something else, a glimmer of hope. It ignited Lily's spirit. She took a breath, grounding herself before she continued. You don't have to agree with me. But together, we can talk. We can find a solution. Mr. Simmons nodded encouragingly. Maybe this is an opportunity, not a problem. If we listen to each other, we might discover how to use what we have for the greater good. The murmurs resumed, but this time they carried a new tone, curiosity, perhaps even a hint of understanding. Mrs. Thompson met Lily's gaze, uncertainty clouding her features. The fire of conflict flickered just enough to allow a sliver of dialogue to slip through. Then, from the back, an elderly man named Mr. Harris spoke up. His voice trembled but held weight. Lily, I've lived here long enough to see this community shrink. We've been through tough times. We've pulled together, but trust is hard to come by when fear guides our hearts. He paused, then added, but maybe we can trust each other just a little more, starting with how we treat one another. As Lily listened, her chest tightened. A wave of sadness washed over her, but she felt determination surge through her veins. You're right, Mr. Harris. Trust matters. And so does kindness. This isn't just about the coins, it's about building something together. The crowd began to stir, and a young woman in the front spoke up, tears shimmering in her eyes. I've lost so much, things that no money could mend. But I want to believe that together we can create something beautiful out of our pain. We have to hope. Her words hung in the air, potent with the promise of possibility. The tension began to ease, the anger transforming. People exchanged glances, the harsh lines of their faces softening as they connected on a deeper level. Lily seized the moment. How about we each share one way we could help someone else? It doesn't have to be money. It could be time or even just a listening ear. If we could share hopes instead of fears, think of what we can build. One by one, neighbors began to open up, sharing stories of hardship and resilience, of hope and assistance. The square began to pulse with warmth as voices mingled and laughter rang out, creating a harmony out of the discord. But then, just when it seemed like they had turned a corner, the weather shifted again. As murmurs of understanding grew, a new figure stepped forward, pushing through the crowd. It was a man dressed in a crisp suit, his eyes scanning the gathering with a calculating gaze. Why waste your time on dreams? He sneered. What good would talking do? Show me the money. An unsettling quiet followed, and Lily felt her heart stall. Who was he, and what came next? Would his arrival unravel their newfound connection? Her hands tightened around the coins in her pocket, a tangible reminder of their shared hopes. How was she supposed to respond now? Would they stand together, or would this stranger pull them apart once more? With uncertainty hanging in the air, she braced herself. Together we can, but what if? Lily felt every heartbeat resonate through her chest as the man's words echoed ominously around the square. She could see the crowd's excitement waning, faces tightening again, like storm clouds gathering before a downpour. They had just begun to connect, to spark that much-needed hope. Could this stranger really extinguish it? Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, not ready to back down. What if dreams are just the beginning of something real? She didn't know if her voice was more shaky or firm, but it carried doubt with just enough hope to crack the tension. What if we can create something that reflects all our struggles and successes? Money isn't the only currency we have. We have each other. Yeah, right, he scoffed, folding his arms tightly. These talkers are always dreaming big while others are out here struggling. You think kindness will fill our kitchens or pay our bills? He cast a derisive smile over the crowd. Wake up, people. Your nice words won't change anything. Lily glanced around. Her neighbors looked torn, caught between the man's harsh words and the warmth they had felt moments ago. A surge of frustration gripped her. Was this man really going to undo everything they had just built? She could see the seeds of doubt taking root yet again in her community, but then, just as Lily felt herself wavering, a strong voice rang out from the back. It was Mr. Harris again. That's not true. Let me tell you something, I don't have much, but I've shared meals with my neighbors. I've mended fences, literally and figuratively. Those moments mean more to me than gold in my pocket. The connections we build can lift us up. Yes. Shouted another neighbor, a young man named Jeremy. I lost my job, but my friends helped me through it. Together, we found each other jobs. That's more than coins can ever do. Lily felt a rush of vindication. The crowd was shifting, voices chiming in as people began to share their stories of resilience once more. The tension in the air hung like a veil, but it felt lighter now. One voice ignited another, a chain reaction of courage spreading through the crowd. But the suited man was unfazed, still standing like an insurmountable wall. What do you think this is, a fairy tale? You need more than goodwill to survive. He looked directly at Lily, his eyes cold and challenging. What if it all crumbles? What will you have then? Tears pricked at Lily's eyes. She couldn't ignore the truth in his words, the fear lurking just beneath them. But as she looked around at her neighbors, an idea sparked. What if I held a community meeting every week? A chance to share fear but also share solutions. No agenda, just a circle of trust that we build together. Whispers of encouragement rippled through the crowd. Comments of "I'll come," and "I'm in," floated to her ears, warming her heart. Could they really do this? See, that's the point. She shouted back at the man, her voice still tinged with nerves but strong. Surviving isn't just about money. It's about community. We'll learn from each other, share skills, rally behind whoever needs a lift. You underestimate our heart. The man's face twisted in annoyance, but the crowd wasn't looking at him anymore. They were looking at Lily, their faces glowing with determination. As the noise of affirmation washed over her, she couldn't help but smile. She was building something. Maybe, just maybe, this storm could break apart and let the sun shine through, but then, just as hope began to spread, Lily noticed a flicker in the suited man's expression, a hint of anger mixed with something else, fear. She held her breath, waiting for what would come next. Would he retaliate? Would he try to tear down their resolve? As silence blanketed the square again, she knew they were standing on the edge of something real, something monumental. All Lily could do was ready herself for whatever he threw their way next, hoping her newly forged connection could withstand the storm brewing before them. What will he reveal? The air was thick with anticipation, a pregnant silence that demanded something more. Lily's heart raced as she tried to decipher the man's emotions, her optimistic resolve battling with the fear that gripped the crowd once again. He had a power over them, but would he unleash it? The suited man took a step forward, breaking the standoff. You think this community gathering is going to solve all your woes? His tone dripped with condescension. You think that oversharing cold coffee and warm words will change the harsh realities out there? You'll be lucky if you can make it through the week, let alone a lifetime of meetings. Lily felt the crowd's energy dim. Murmurs of doubt flowed around her, threatening to swallow the hope she'd ignited. But then a woman stepped forward. It was Martha, a grandmother known for her fierce spirit. What you're saying is true for some, she declared, her voice a low rumble of strength. But you haven't seen us at our best. The crowd shifted again, rekindled by Martha's fire. Years ago, I lost my husband. I was alone, she continued. It was a group of neighbors who showed up with dinners, who offered helping hands when I needed them most. They didn't just fill my stomach, they filled my heart. Yes, shouted Ethan, a teenager with bright eyes. We held a bake sale last fall. We didn't raise much, but it was about more than the money. We came together. We learned from each other. We are more than what we have in our pockets. Lily watched as heads nodded, faces lighting up with recognition. Each story woven together formed a tapestry of resilience and community, like an intricate quilt that spoke of shared experiences. The man watched, his expression hardening, but annoyance crept into his posture, a crack in his armor. I'm not here to play fairy tales. He barked, slamming a fist into his palm. The sound echoed, cutting through the vulnerability that had begun to build. I'm here to show you reality. The crowd's shivers of unease were palpable, but Lily found her voice again, picking up on the energy of those around her. Life isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving within our networks. She felt heat pooling in her chest, and with urgency, she continued. Who knows, maybe we might even start small businesses. With our skills combined, we can uplift each other. Her words struck a chord. A collective. Another voice exclaimed. We can do it, can't we? Everyone contributing their talents, pooling our resources. Shouts of "yes" erupted like fireworks, lighting the canvas of doubt above them. Lily's heart soared as her vision started to crystallize the community that could arise from their combined strength. She could see their faces filled with determination, no longer intimidated by the man who stood against them, but he wouldn't back down easily. In a low growl, he retreated just slightly, creating a space that seemed to vibrate with tension. "You're playing a dangerous game. When this all falls apart, remember who warned you." The crowd hissed collectively at his threat, but Lily stood her ground. "Every change has its struggles. But if we stand together, we'll find a way. We won't just endure, we will adapt and blossom." With a sudden flip of emotion, she smiled at him. "You see, we aren't just playing a game. We're playing for our survival together." As the crowd began to chant her name, lifting Lily higher on their shoulders, the suited man's icy facade began to crack. She noticed something flickering in those sharp eyes, almost like a hint of doubt. Was he beginning to feel the weight of this collective push? Just as hope surged through the entire square, a shadow darkened the moment. Out of nowhere, sirens pierced the unity, and the crowd froze, the commotion stirring unease once again. "What is going on?" Lily whispered to herself, feeling a knot tightening in her stomach. The suited man wore a smirk, knowing something they did not. Who is coming now? Could this be the end of their moment? Or would it instead open doors to fears they hadn't yet faced? Lily's heart sank as the shrill wail of the sirens grew louder, echoing against the buildings that surrounded them. The crowd's cheers began to falter, replaced by whispering waves of anxiety. She could feel it ripple through the people like a cold gust of wind, erasing the warmth they had built together. "Stay calm," she called out, an instinctive plea to quell the rising tide of panic. "Let us not let fear take hold. We are stronger together." But inside, she felt her own doubts pushing at the edges of her courage. What if help was not what they needed? What if it was an obstacle in their pursuit of unity? The suited man's infuriating smirk grew wider as he watched the chaos unfold. There was something unsettling about it, a sharp contrast to the fear that gripped the crowd. He thrived on this uncertainty. "I told you. This is reality. You need to wake up," he shouted, his voice cutting through Lily's attempts to galvanize the people. Just then, a police car screeched to a halt at the edge of the square. Two officers stepped out, their faces set in stern determination. One of them, a woman with a kind but weary expression, surveyed the gathering crowd. "What is going on here?" she demanded, but there was a flicker of recognition in her eyes when she locked onto Martha. The grandmother took a step forward, her resolve unwavering. "We're talking about our community. We're coming together for change," Martha stated, her voice booming in the silence that dropped after the sirens. The police officers exchanged glances, unsure of what to make of the scene in front of them. "What do you mean change?" the other officer inquired, a hint of curiosity breaking through his initial wariness. Lily sensed an opportunity. She moved in close to the front, breathing deep to ease the pressure in her chest. "We're tired of feeling powerless," she declared. "We want to build businesses together, create jobs, and support one another. But we need your help to make sure we can do this safely." The tension was palpable. The onlookers shifted, their gazes darting from the officers back to Lily, as if they were mere spectators at a high-tension showdown. "Do we really need a police presence for this?" the female officer asked, eyebrows raised. "Is it really that serious?" "Serious enough," the suited man interjected, cutting in. "These people are just dreaming. You're wasting your time here." A loud murmur rippled through the crowd in response. "We're not just dreaming. We're acting," they countered, rising in voice and spirit. The momentum surged, igniting new energy as their stories intertwined into one powerful call for action. The officer tuned into this palpable emotion, and her demeanor shifted. "All right, let us hear your ideas," she proposed, glancing skeptically at her partner. "But if we're going to help, we need to ensure everyone is safe." As they began to share their plans, Lily couldn't shake the feeling of urgency. She sensed the weight of what they had started. But still, the suited man remained loitering in the background, a menacing figure who threatened the fragile unity they were trying to build. Lily's heart thudded. She had no idea what the man might do next, what lies he could spin to undermine their efforts. Sweat trickled down her back as she stole a glance at him, his face now a mask of contempt. Just as they began to form strategies with the officers, a sudden bang rang out, a loud pop that sliced through the air, drawing every eye. It was followed by the shattering of glass nearby, and a collective gasp emerged from the crowd. What was that? Someone shouted, voices trembling. The officers immediately rushed toward the sound, and panic washed over the audience once more. Lily's mind raced. Was this a distraction, a deliberate act to send them spiraling back into fear? As the officers ran off, she turned to the crowd, their faces confused yet defiant. Stay together, everyone. We can't let this discourage us. This is our moment. She shouted, rallying their spirits once more, but deep down, she knew they had not yet faced their greatest challenge. The suited man stood resolute, his smile returning, as if he had orchestrated this very moment. What if this was just the beginning? What more awaited them in this uncertain journey ahead? Lily's heart pounded in her chest, each beat resonating with the frantic energy in the atmosphere. The crowd was a living thing now, a creature of hope and fear, struggling to breathe amidst the chaos. She reached out, her hand clutching Martha's arm for strength. We can do this, she murmured, half to herself and half to the elder, who nodded resolutely, but it was hard to ignore the suited man. He danced on the edges of their gathering, a dark silhouette against the vibrancy of their shared purpose. That wicked grin seemed to broaden, feeding off their falter. You call this courage? He sneered, loud enough for everyone to hear. You're just a herd waiting for someone to make you feel safe. Lily clenched her jaw. This was more than just words. They were weapons meant to undermine everything they had built. She stepped forward once more, pushing through the tension hanging thick in the air. Even if we're a herd, we stand together, she proclaimed, her voice steady and loud, breaking through the clamor of uncertainty. And it's time some of us stopped being scared of acting. Acting won't pay the bills, he retorted. Reality check, sweetheart. He waved a dismissive hand, as if to swat away their dreams like flies. Reality? Martha called out, stepping forward with fire in her eyes. What about the reality of our families going hungry? Our kids missing opportunities? We're done sitting quiet. The crowd erupted, voices rising like a tidal wave of determination washing over the initial whispers of fear. They were no longer just a collection of individuals, they were a community finding its voice. Suddenly, shots rang out, punctuating the air. The sound of glass shattering seemed to slow time, drawing every soul in the square into a moment of shared horror. Lily's breath hitched. Stay back. Someone shouted, more panic creeping in. Martha took a protective stance. We're not going anywhere. She shouted back defiantly, challenging the unknown. Fear swirled through the people, but something greater simmered beneath. Lily sensed a shift, anger turned into resolve, confusion became clarity. As the officers sprinted toward the source of the sound, Lily lifted her chin high. This is our home, she screamed, her voice slicing the tension. And we will fight for it. Across the square, a few hearts began to echo her sentiment. One by one, arms lifted into the air, fists turned into symbols of resilience. We're not afraid. They started to chant, the phrase bouncing off the walls like a battle cry, but the suited man was not finished. He approached the nearest cluster of people, his expression a mask of feigned pity. You really think you can change anything? He asked, his tone dripping with condescension. Look around. You'll see fear and failure wherever you turn. Not anymore. Someone yelled back, igniting a fire within. The chant soared louder. We're not afraid. We're not afraid. Lily felt herself swell with pride. Each shout wrapped around her heart, intertwining their hopes and dreams into an unbreakable bond. But just when they seemed to gain a critical mass, a new sound emerged, a loud crash, this time from behind them. Her stomach dropped as sections of the crowd turned. A group of figures emerged from the surrounding streets, hooded and obscured, wielding tools that shone menacingly in the dim light. "What now?" someone whispered, panic creeping back in. Lily's heart raced as these new players entered the stage, ready to test the very unity they fought so hard to create. Were they there to intimidate? Or attack? As tension hung in the air, one truth blazed clear: the heart of their community was about to be put to an ultimate test. What would they choose to stand for in the face of real adversity? The hooded figures glided forward, a menacing wave of shadow, and the air crackled with unease. Breathing deeply, Lily's eyes darted among familiar faces. Fear flickered in the crowd, but her heart refused to surrender. "Stay together!" she shouted again, her voice steadying despite the chaos. Martha squeezed Lily's arm. "They might be here to scare us, but we've faced so much worse," she affirmed, her spirit unyielding. But what seemed like a unified front began to fracture as murmurs of doubt slipped through the crowd. The Avengers' shiny tools glinted ominously in the waning light. "We can't take them on," someone whispered, panic surfacing again. Lily's heart sank. "No. This is where we ignite hope, not fear," she called out, her voice exploding like a firecracker. "We're not asking for permission. We are here for change." She felt every pair of eyes on her, measuring her words, clinging to that thread of courage she tried to weave through the tumult. As if sensing the shift, the suited man laughed, a chilling sound that reverberated into the unrest. "What's your plan?" he taunted. "You think shouting makes a difference? You're just a whisper against the roar of reality." With every word, the crowd became a tapestry of emotions. But amidst the noise, Lily saw something shift in the faces around her: determination. A young man stepped forward, spilling his heart with raw honesty. "I don't want my daughter to have a life built on someone else's fear. It's time we stood up." That comment struck a chord. Eyes turned, nods exchanged. Lilith could almost feel the warmth spreading as hands reached toward one another. She could see that they were not just gathered here to shout, they were here to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. The hooded figures paused for a moment, caught off guard. The uncertainty began to creep into their ranks. "What do you want?" one of them shouted, his bravado flickering. At that moment, Lily sensed the tide turning. Courage surged through the crowd like wildfire. "Safety!" someone shouted. "Respect!" another cried out. "A future!" More voices joined in unison, each word echoing around them. In that instant, the suited man faltered, the bravado slipping from his face. "Do you really think it's that easy?" he sneered, confidence wavering. "Yes." The cry emerged from families, from hopeful children, from the elderly who survived too many storms. The energy overturned desperation into power. "We deserve better." And when Lily raised her fist, so too did others around her. Each voice, every shout, molded together and blended into a collective roar that painted the square with the vibrant hues of their dreams. They were no longer a herd waiting for change, they were strong, unstoppable, relentless. The hooded figures exchanged nervous glances. Slowly, they lowered their tools, the weapons of intimidation losing their edge against the unyielded spirit of community. But just as victory felt tantalizingly close, one of the lurking figures broke away, darting toward a shattered window. In an instant, there was another crash, this time much closer, and chaos threatened once more. "Stay! Don't back down!" shouted Martha, trying to rally everyone. Lily stood frozen, her heart racing. What was happening now? Were they about to face another confrontation? Would their newfound unity hold steady against the relentless storm of adversity? Bracing herself, Lily made a decision that could change everything. She began to move in the direction of the thrashing shadows. "We must hold the line," she declared, adrenaline surging, but would the crowd follow her lead, or would they falter at the brink of chaos? The tension was palpable. Everything hung in the air, leading them towards an uncertain fate. Lily's heart thundered in her chest as she stepped forward. Instinctively, she reached for Martha's hand, steadying herself with the warmth of their connection. Together! She yelled, her voice slicing through the chaos like a beacon. Around her, the crowd began to sway, a living entity fueled by shared resolve. The shadows from the hooded figures writhed closer as if daring them to take one wrong step. Yet Lily pressed on, feeling the strength of the people behind her. She turned to the young man who had spoken earlier, his eyes brimming with determination. "What's your name?" she called out. "Tom. Tom Harris." He replied, stepping up beside her, his face lit with a fire she recognized. "Well, Tom, if we're doing this together, we need everyone." Her voice soared above the rising tumult. "Can you help me gather everyone? Let us hold hands. We are stronger together." With a resolute nod, Tom started to pass the word. One by one, people began to extend their arms, gripping hands in an unbroken chain radiating with a shared energy. The fear that once lingered in the air dissipated into something fierce, something transcendental. "Hold tight," Lily instructed, glancing back at the advancing figures, their faces now lit with uncertainty merged with anger. She could sense the shifting dynamic, as if a wave of courage was washing over the crowd, imbued with hope. Then, suddenly, one of the hooded figures stepped forward, his eyes meeting Lily's. "Why do you care so much?" he sneered, hiding behind his mask, hiding from vulnerability. "You think this means something?" Lily felt her heart beat faster, anger bubbling within her but mingling with sadness. "Because we're not just numbers waiting to be controlled. We're families. We love. We dream. We seek a future." Each word was a battle, designed to pierce the facade of indifference wrapped around the figures. Martha squeezed her hand tighter, whispering, "Don't let them win, Lily. You've got this." That simple reassurance sent a jolt through her. She raised her arms higher. "Who are we?" she shouted, her voice echoing across the square. "We are," came the chant, reverberating like a heartbeat through the crowd, amplifying strength in unity. "Louder!" Lily cried, and they surged forward together, filling the empty space with power and defiance. "What do we want?" "Change!" The crowd roared back, the word trailing into the distance, racing like fire across the aching silence. The hooded figures recoiled, and for a brief moment, hesitation clung to them like fog. They exchanged glances, their resolve murky in the light of the crowd's conviction, but that moment shattered with the sound of glass breaking again, a shard of a window scattering into 1,000 glinting pieces. Someone had thrown a rock, and chaos surged anew. "Stay here. Hold the line," Lily shouted, defiantly. Yet mixed in with the frenzy was a growing feeling of dread. She could see how quickly vulnerability could ignite rage. The crowd began to murmur again, doubt weaving through their thoughts like ivy creeping through cracks in a structure. Lily's breath hitched. "Tom, we can't lose this. Keep them focused," she urged, meeting his gaze intense with empathy. At that moment, she realized she was not just leading them into battle, she was leading them into something transformative. What if this display of unity became a symbol? What if their cries and hopes could ignite more than just a confrontation? As she stood there, fear and adrenaline coursing through her, Lily felt the weight of the impending moment. What if their shared love could break through the darkness? Could they demolish the wall of fear that had alienated them for so long? Her heart raced as she sensed a shift in the air. If they could hold the line, if they could withstand this storm, then perhaps a new dawn awaited them. But would they have the courage to see it through? Just then, the wind began to shift. As the first hints of dawn broke over Maplewood, the tension in the square felt electric. The sound of shattering glass still echoed, merging with the rustling of leaves and the whispering wind. The crowd's energy was like a live wire charged, vulnerable, and ready to explode. Lily shifted her stance and looked around at the faces she knew so well, each one marked by determination and the shared understanding of their struggles. This moment felt pivotal, and she realized she had to be the beacon guiding them through the storm. "We are more than our fears," she shouted, drawing strength from the collective heartbeat of the crowd. "We are here to stand together for our families, our dreams, and for each other." Her resolve rippled like a wave through the gathered townsfolk. Naturally, they needed courage to hold hands and keep their connection strong, but they also needed something far more tangible: a plan forward. Gathering her breath, she smiled at Tom beside her, their hands clasped tightly. Her heart pounded as she realized a powerful vision sparked in her mind: let us turn this into a gathering for ideas. Let us set a date for a community meeting, a way for everyone to share their skills and collaborate. People nodded, eager to latch on to this new direction. The crowd began to become a sea of bright eyes and thoughtful expressions. "I can help with budgeting," offered Mr. Simmons, stepping forward with new resolve. "And I can gather local resources." A familiar face chimed in, a small shopkeeper whose pride had once dulled under financial strain. The connections continued to soar, igniting a fire of hope amidst uncertainty. "Together, we can support those who need help," pleaded Martha fiercely. "Let us create a local group to uplift each other." Another voice interjected, echoing the collective frustration. "But how will we keep going? This moment is fleeting, and we've been facing this for so long." Lily locked eyes with them, her heart swelling. "Change isn't easy, but it starts with us believing in one another," she replied firmly. "Let us stop letting fear control our conversations. We need to keep talking, sharing our burdens until we find solutions. Together, we can rise." A ripple of agreement washed through the crowd, washing away the lingering remnants of doubt. Lily watched as one neighbor after another raised their voices in support, sharing stories of resilience and strength. Their words knitted a tapestry of unity, and the connections were now their strongest currency. Even from the shadows, the suited man's facade began to crumble as his smirk faded to uncertainty. The collective resolve pushed through, pressing against his negative energy like an unstoppable wave, dismantling the fences built around their fears. "Life isn't a competition," he scoffed weakly, but his voice lacked conviction against the chorus of determination surrounding him. The crowd roared back, louder and prouder than before, fueling Lily's spirit. "No one is winning here, we're all in this together." As the cycle of fear and aggression began to dissipate under the burgeoning warmth of hope, the hooded figures faltered, glancing at one another with uncertainty. That feeling of dreaded control slipped from their grasp with every budding idea exchanged by neighbors woven together with compassion. "Let us shift our energy toward improvement, not fear. Together, we can establish a community where we support each other through thick and thin." Lily shouted, the crowd surged with fervor, some breaking down in tears while others grasped at each other's hands as tears of relief and determination flowed freely. Each expression reflected the metamorphosis, a struggle to overcome their fears and lean into the warmth of their community. Their stories were powerful, a testament to shared humanity. At that moment, the police officers who had been watching with keen interest finally drew closer. With softer expressions, they asked, "How can we assist? You're making something beautiful here." Lily felt a swell of gratitude. "Join us. Help us with logistics, permits. We need to unite to make this happen." And it clicked, the dawn was breaking, light breaking through the darkness that had threatened to consume them. Each success story illuminated the path forward. When the sun broke fully over Maplewood, it was as if every challenge faced evaporated, replaced by vibrant possibilities, fueled by love, laughter, and the unwavering bond connecting each heart present. Lily knew they wouldn't solve all their issues overnight. But they were prepared to face them together, hand in hand. The crowd cheered, tears sparkling like sunlight on water. They were ready to create, ready to dream not just for themselves but for future generations. As the meeting day drew near, the town felt different. Mornings were filled with laughter instead of worries, and every corner echoed with the music of hope. Lily glanced around and smiled, realizing that they weren't just transforming Maplewood, they had become a family bound by resilience through unity. Now, as it all settled, she turned to her neighbors, her friends. "We did this together," she exclaimed, hope flooding her voice. "This is just the beginning. Now let us make it happen." With that, defenses dissolved, and together they stepped into the light of a new chapter created through trust, support, and the mighty strength of community. And as dawn broke bright on a healed Maplewood, they were a family, fighting for each other. Their hearts filled with love, knowing they'd no longer let fear dictate their fate. Now is the time for you, the audience, to embrace this moment. You need to subscribe now to not miss our next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your thoughts on this incredible transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this change. Your actions matter in bringing our community together.